tonight, and New York Theater Barn's Choreography Lab is live.
Good evening and welcome to New York Theater Barn's Choreography Lab Live. I'm Joe Barros and I'm the Artistic Director.
And I'm Avi Talasuline, the Curator of the Choreography Lab. Tonight we are celebrating the third virtual installment of the 7th season of our Choreography Lab.
And tonight's broadcast will also be simulcast to Broadway On Demand. This event is just one of many hybrid and virtual events we've presented since the start of the pandemic. Since March, and with all of our virtual programming combined, we have presented over 60 new musicals, lifted up the work of over 100 writers, made space for over 250 artists, and we've created so much incredible programming, including Theater Barn Records, a new imprint of Broadway records and dedicated to original musicals in development.
Wow, that is such an incredible amount of content. I am so proud to be a part of this organization.
That's right, and we've also pivoted to create hybrid versions of our lab. Earlier this year, we featured the work of 4 choreographers who presented their work remotely, and over the summer, we presented excerpts from a new musical and a film, which featured choreography by Tislarm Bowie and A Strange Loop's Raja Feather Kelly.
Absolutely, it was pretty awesome. Tonight's lab, New Technologies, Endless Possibilities, will explore the similarities and differences around creating dance for a live theatrical production versus creating dance for a digital multimedia event. People have been filming dance for almost as long as film has existed, and we've always known that there are differences in creating work for the camera as opposed to creating work for a live audience.
However, the ability to capture choreography so quickly in our digital world means that we now have the ability to create sophisticated, highly technical works with more ease than ever before. As we begin to evolve projects at the intersection of theater and film, we will also begin to discover new ways to develop and tell stories.
In this lab, choreographers Tuan Malinowski and Kristin Yancy will present 2 numbers from 2 brand new musicals that have never been staged until right now. And they will present their numbers in 2 different ways. Once as conceived for a traditional theatrical production, and once as a multimedia broadcast event.
Sounds so exciting. The original musicals featured tonight are I Don't Want to Talk About It by Ben Kaplan and Sueños, Our American Musical by Jesse Sanchez and Jeff Chambers. Both musicals have been featured in New York Theater Barn's New Work series.
And for the first time in the lab's history, we have added a new mentorship component where we paired each choreographer with an established mentor choreographer. Veteran Tony-nominated director-choreographer Joshua Bergasse served as Tuan's mentor on I Don't Want to Talk About It, and director-choreographer Maria Torres served as Yancy's mentor on Sueños.
The mentors met with their specific choreographer and writing team to discuss an initial approach into the work and provided feedback during the rehearsal process. New York Theater Barn is thrilled to present this educational opportunity during these unprecedented times and with such prolific mentors.
And speaking of unprecedented times, we also have a few health and safety details we'd like to share with you about this innovative hybrid style event.
Exactly. We are wearing masks, just like everyone in this building, including all of tonight's performers. And while our events usually feature musical theater performers both singing and dancing, tonight, our performers will dance to pre-recorded tracks.
Absolutely. The health and safety of all participating artists and personnel have been our main priority throughout this process. We've managed to safely create new work while adhering to New York State Media Production Guidelines, CDC guidelines, NYC media guidance, and Broadway Dance Center's COVID-19 safety policies.
A lot of policies, a lot of guidelines, but absolutely necessary. We are taking the following measures to maintain a safe process. Face masks worn at all times, including while being filmed.
COVID-19 tests before rehearsals began and 48 hours prior to performance day.
Temperatures and symptoms screened daily.
Social distance maintained while not performing and at all times for crew.
And a secured non-public rehearsal performance space with less than 50% capacity. We are at 25%. Instances where social distancing is broken by performers is an allowable measure as long as it is limited to only necessary activity and social distancing is maintained thereafter.
And finally, we want to thank Broadway Dance Center and Full Out Creative for making this event possible. None of this would have been possible without their support.
Full Out Creative has been an incredible partner in this process, and we look forward to continuing to work together to lift up artists, incubate original musicals, and create live theater. Here to tell us more about New York Theater Barn is Associate Artistic Director Jen Sandler.
Hello, I am Jen Sandler, and I'm the Associate Artistic Director of New York Theater Barn and one of the producers of tonight's Historical Lab. This month marks 1 year for me with New York Theater Barn, which is so crazy. And over the past year, I've had the opportunity to work with some of the most amazing writers and creatives. The stories they are trying to tell are inspiring and absolutely needed. And it makes my job just the easiest. I'm sure the same for you guys. The pandemic happened and I knew we had to bring our programming online right away. And here we are over 7 months later, which is kind of absurd and insane, but we did it, and musical theater development is more alive than ever. Funded in part by a generous gift from the Amber Foundation, the Choreography Lab was created to elevate and expand the use of dance in musical theater. The lab is also the only curated choreography platform where choreographers and writers collaborate to develop movement for new musicals during incubation, and it's created by Avital. We are grateful for our gift from the Amber Foundation, but it only will fund part of the lab as we continue to grow and what you are seeing tonight. Is that crazy or what? It takes an incredible amount of work to make tonight's show happen, and in order to continue to lift up artists and original musicals, we really need your help. Please join our generous donors by making your gift today on our website at nytheaterbarn.org/give. New York Theater Barn is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and your gift tonight is tax deductible. Thank you for supporting live theater, and enjoy the show tonight.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for all your hard work with all of our programming and for managing tonight's broadcast with us.
Yeah, she's back at the control station now as we speak.
Yes, she is.
Also, I want to give a shout out to Hector Flores Jr., our in-house videographer, for editing all of tonight's footage.
That's right. Hector is also the president of Theater Barn Records and is one of tonight's performers in the excerpt from Sueños. I also wanted to mention, Jen actually wasn't back at her station yet. She was actually cleaning the microphone that she was using.
Ah, yes, which also very important. Okay, it's time. Let's get started. Our first number of the evening is The Pill Song from the new musical I Don't Want to Talk About It by Ben Kaplan.
But I do want to talk about it. So, through humor, empathy, and brutal honesty, Ben Kaplan's I Don't Want to Talk About It is a rock musical that pushes the boundaries of how society discusses mental health. At the top of Act 2, our protagonist finds himself on the receiving end of a lively advertisement for various mental health drugs in The Pill Song.
And choreographing The Pill Song is choreographer Tuan Malinowski. As a performer, Tuan has worked with choreographers Chase Brock and Patty Colombo and has been creating his own works of dance on film as the pandemic has continued on.
And now joining us live is Tuan Malinowski.
Woo!
Hey, Tuan.
Hello!
Hi.
It's so nice to have you here.
So great to be here.
Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit about your style as a choreographer. Who are maybe some of your biggest creative influences?
Okay, so I did know you were going to ask this question. All the other questions, I don't know what it's going to be. But for this question, I thought really long and hard, honestly, about choreographic influence. Specifically with this song specifically, it's so stylized, and every section is a different genre of music, which then informs the style of dance. But I actually wanted to take this time to give a shout out to choreographers that influenced me. Choreographer, not choreographic-wise maybe, like movement-wise, but just as performers.
Oh.
So I just have a quick list about 5 Asian American choreographers in our industry that I wanted to take the time to shout out for paving the way and continuing to do the work. So we have Joanne Hunter, Bjork Lee, of course, Carla Garcia, Darren Lee, Keone and Mari Madrid, and Billy Bustamante. So I just want to give that shout out. So they influence and inspire me, not necessarily movement-based, but just as
people and as choreographers.
So, yeah.
That's
awesome.
great.
Thanks so much for sharing that list with us.
Of course.
You got to work with Josh Bergasse, which is very exciting. Josh is a Tony-nominated Broadway director-choreographer, and I've had such a wonderful time working with Josh on the Broadway revival of Gigi, the off-Broadway production of Cagney, and workshops of King Kong that was written by Marcia Norman and Jason Robert Brown. Anyway, enough about them. What has it been like to have the opportunity to work with Josh on this process, particularly during this particular moment in our lives?
Absolutely. First of all, frankly, it was just amazing. Like most people, I was sitting on the couch for 7 months straight, not being creative, not inspired to do anything due to everything happening, and obviously focusing my time on more important matters, frankly, than theater. But doing this has been such a true privilege and joy, getting to be creative over Zoom, in person live, and has reinvigorated my spirit for creativity. But working with Josh specifically, he has been so kind and generous during the past 3 weeks. Once again, I don't really expect much of anyone during this time, frankly, any extra energy that they may want to give. So it has been truly awesome getting to talk to him, getting to bounce ideas back and forth with someone who has been in this industry so long and has so much experience and things to offer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful. So before we begin, we have a special little treat for you. While Josh wasn't able to join us tonight, he did want to share a few words with us about his experience working with Tuan on this evening's lab presentation. Why don't we take...
Hi, my name is Josh Bergasse, and I mentored Tuan on tonight's Choreography Lab presentation. It was a real honor to do this and to work with Tuan. Some of the things we talked about were process and character development and humor and dealing with the constraints of choreographing a number that had to be socially distanced and where they were wearing masks but yet still trying to get the story and the character across. I think it's really important for directors and writers and producers to start thinking about choreography earlier in their process and adding choreographers earlier to their process so that dance can be a part of the storytelling vocabulary as opposed to an afterthought. I was thrilled when New York Theater Barn asked me to be part of this program. I loved working with Tuan so much. I was so impressed by his enthusiasm and his specificity and his creativity, and sharing my philosophies with him was really interesting because I realized I had forgotten some of them, and now I'm reminded of them, and I can bring them into my work moving forward again. It's really a great program, and I'm so proud to be a part of it, and so happy for Tuan, and happy for you, the audience, to see this number because it's great and it's funny and it's wonderful. And I wish I could be there. I am definitely there in spirit and thinking of you all. And enjoy.
Okay, wasn't that awesome? I loved seeing that video that Josh made earlier today. So I think it is absolutely time for us to see some dancing. We've been talking for long enough. Let's see this first iteration of the Pill Song. And remember, the first time we see the Pill Song, it will be shot and shared with all of you as though it were occurring on a big proscenium stage. This performance features, this project features performances by Justin Albinder, Jordan Alexander, Aaron Bonas, Damon J. Gillespie, and Mikey Morley. All right, here we go.
Life's a lot, you're feeling down, find it hard to get around. You need a boost to help you never fear. understand. We'll lend a hand to help with your ills. Trust in us. We're your friends, we're pills. Hey, looky here, over here. Fuck is here! It's your friend, the stimulant. I'm here to raise your spirits and your blood pressure and heart rate. It's time to ace that test. Run a mile, climb a tree, get the girl, climb another tree. Life with me will never be a bore. Sure, you may crash and say, well, now I just feel awful. But we can fix that if you just take more. You'll never hit a wall with methylphenidate or Adderall. Trust in us. We're your friends, we're pills.
Hold up, please excuse the interruption. Allow an introduction to what you see before you. I'm the mood stabilizer, straight out of Pfizer. And baby, how I work is gonna flow you. You're feeling high, you bring you down. You're feeling low, I help you come around. With a couple tiny side effects, it's time to help you level out. It's beneficial so you won't feel manic. No need to panic, lithium is all organic.
Try it out and you will say, Ativan is A-OK. Trust in us. We're your friends, we're pills.
Oh, yeah. That's right, baby. I want to slow things down for just a minute. You know, we've been talking a lot about all these fine pills. But you know, sometimes you can't afford that kind of good medicine. You know what I'm talking about. But don't you worry your pretty little head. 'Cause I've got the stuff to ease your body, mind, soul, and hell, maybe a few other things. 'Cause I've got love and other drugs. There's caffeine from your coffee.
Just drink 20 cups a day.
And there's nothing quite like alcohol.
Just drink the pain away.
You can eat your feelings as much as you can take. Like fries and pizza, melted cheese and cake. Yes, cake. I could eat a whole cake by myself.
Sometimes all you need is to eat a lot of junk and smoke a ton of weed. Trust in us. We're your friends, we're pills.
And wine and sugar and the photo that you keep on your computer marked not porn.
Hello. I am the antipsychotic medication. My goal is a simple one. I strive to keep your grand illusions and your hallucinations in check. And make sure that you don't lose touch with reality. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. That guy over there isn't a secret lizard person. And you may think it's funny, but I'll tell you that 4% of this country believes lizard people exist and that they will become our overlords in the nuclear apocalypse. 4% of our country is approximately 13.2 million people. Isn't that hilarious?
So we hope that we can help you if you need us. And if you don't, then that is A-OK. But all we want to do is try to help you through. If the problems in your head won't go away, don't go away. Sometimes a quick fix is all that you need. All the top pharmaceutical companies agree. You should us. We're your friends, we're pills.
Great, really great. Let's give it up one more time for our performers.
Bravo!
Amazing. You guys can cut for a moment and then we'll bring you back. Yes, thank you. All right, so Tuan, that was really, really amazing. I loved the little quirky bits of syncopation and just how slick and smooth everything is. Yeah. So I would love to just hear a little bit more about why some of those pills were a little different for you. Like, how did you kind of conceive the movement for each one?
Totally. So basically, if you could gather, hopefully, is what was happening is when they were all singing together, it was barbershop quartet style, kind of like Good Night Ladies, Music Man style. And then each pill broke off into a different section. So the first, the stimulant pill, is more like hairspray, like Nicest Kids in Town, like crazy energy. So that has a certain vocabulary. Going into the boy band section, which is more like, ooh yeah, I'm a boy band of like the early 2000s. And then going into the like love song romance section, and then finishing with this like creepy pill. But each one required a different movement vocabulary, which honestly kind of was dictated by the style and era it was from.
Sure, which makes a ton of sense to me. I guess I would just like to say, do you have anything else that you'd like to add about what your time was like working with Josh, and anything that over this process like was modified directly because of conversations you had with him?
Totally. So Josh really made me think about transitions from things to thing. Often I'll just like come up with a phrase and I'll be like, here it is, and then I'll come up with another one, but I have no way from get to point A to point B. So I like struggle making it cohesive and having a through line. And Josh was really emphasizing to me to make sure that every movement in some way informs what's going to happen and pushes the story forward. And also really encouraging me, because Josh worked on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is a little similar to this piece, where bunch of different styles of music in one show. So we talked a lot about creating that movement vocabulary.
Oh, cool.
And differentiating them, but still making it cohesive even though everything was different.
Cool, that's amazing. Well, listen, this is so great. So as you know, and as our audience now knows, we just saw this piece and we saw it just with one shot, right? But now what we're going to do is we are going to see the piece as conceived for a live television broadcast.
Exactly.
And we'll get a little bit of time to talk about the differences between that. But in the meantime, I think it's time to see that second version of the piece. So let's give it up for our dancers.
Bravo!
And we are going to do it one more time, the pill song. Here we go.
Oh!
Life's a lot, you're feeling down, find it hard to get around. You need a boost to help you never fear. We understand, we'll lend a hand to help with your ills. Trust in us, we're your friends, we're pills. Hey, hey, looky here, over here, fuck is here! It's your friend, the stimulant. I'm here to raise your spirits and your blood pressure and heart rate. It's time to ace that test, run a mile, climb a tree, get the girl, climb another tree. Life with me will never be a bore. Sure, you may crash and say, well, now I just feel awful. But we can fix that if you just take more. You'll never hit a wall with methylphenidate or Adderall. Trust in us. We're your friends, we're pills.
Hold up, please excuse the interruption. Allow an introduction to what you see before you. I'm the mood stabilizer, straight out of Pfizer. And baby, how I work is gonna throw you. You're feeling high, you bring you down. You're feeling low, I help you come around. With a couple tiny side effects. It's time to help you level out. It's beneficial so you won't feel manic. No need to panic. Lithium is all organic.
Try it out and you will say, Ativan is A-OK. Trust in us. We're your friends, we're pills.
right, baby. I want to slow things down for just a minute. You know, we've been talking a lot about all these fine pills. But you know, sometimes you can't afford that kind of good medicine. You know what I'm talking about. But don't you worry your pretty little head. 'Cause I've got the stuff to ease your body, mind, soul, and hell, maybe a few other things. 'Cause I've got love and other drugs. There's caffeine from your coffee.
Just drink 20 cups a day.
And there's nothing quite like alcohol.
Just drink the pain away.
Or you can eat your feelings as much as you can take. Like fries and pizza, melted cheese and cake. Yes, cake. I could eat a whole cake by myself. Sometimes all you need is to eat a lot of junk and smoke a ton of weed. Trust in us. We're your friends, we're pills and wine and sugar and the photo that you keep on your computer marked not porn.
Hello. I am the antipsychotic medication. My goal is a simple one. I strive to keep your grand illusions and your hallucinations in check. And make sure that you don't lose touch with reality. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. That guy over there isn't a secret lizard person. And you may think it's funny, but I'll tell you that 4% of this country believes lizard people exist and that they will become our overlords in the nuclear apocalypse. 4% of our country is approximately 13.2 million people. Isn't that hilarious?
So we hope that we can help you if you need us. And if you don't, then that is A-okay. But all we want to do is try to help you through. If the problems in your head won't go away, don't go away. Sometimes a quick fix is all that you need. All the top pharmaceutical companies agree. You should trust us. Don't you trust us? Trust in us. We're your friends. We're pills.
Hey.
Oh, one more time. Big applause for all of you guys. Yay, take a bow. Go for it. Bow, bow, bow. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, yes, I'm going back to number one. Okay.
Awesome. That was so fantastic. I just loved seeing that. I loved seeing how the cinematography really brought out all of the details and nuances that Tuan worked on.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So we are going to have a chance to chat with Tuan one more time this evening when both choreographers join me to discuss the possibilities and challenges about choreographing with these different mediums in mind.
Awesome. And before we move on to the next segment, we want to make sure that the floors and surfaces have been thoroughly wiped down for the safety of the artists in the room, including the cast and the crew.
We have a very glamorous life here, yes.
So while we Swiffer, we'd like to share footage from the lab's 7-year journey. All right, I'm still thinking about Tuan's influences. Joanna M. Hunter, we had at our benefit, Got to Dance,
That's
our choreography
true.
conversation. And just about a week ago, we had Bjork Lee in our seat at the table, a panel on inclusivity.
It's true, and we've also had conversations, you might not even know this, with Billy.
I love Billy's work.
With Billy about potentially doing some work like moderating lab before as well. That, you know, maybe we'll bring that back sometime in the future too. Okay,
so,
cool.
like I said, we're all clean now, and we're going to move on to the second number of the evening, With Her Heart in My Hand, Hermosa, which is from Sueños, our American musical, written by Jesse Sanchez. Can you scroll back down? Thank you so much. Written by Jesse Sanchez and Jeff Chambers. Sueños is a new Latinx musical that follows 3 generations of a Mexican-American family in their pursuit of the American dream. Sueños is an opportunity for an underrepresented community to be represented by writers and collaborators who live and breathe those experiences. New York Theater Barn also acknowledges that this must be the new normal.
Absolutely. In With Her Heart in My Hand, Hermosa, the audience is introduced to the 3rd generation Sandra at her dance performance. She is a gifted ballet dancer and learns how to salsa dance from her grandfather, Alex.
And choreographing the piece for us tonight is choreographer Kristin Yancy.
Kristin has performed on Broadway in the Cher Show and in Summer, the Donna Summer musical. As a choreographer, she is the artistic director of Minute Zero, an immersive events company. Here she is.
Hi.
Yay. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Hey, Kristin. Thanks so much for being here tonight. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your background as a choreographer. So we know that you work quite a lot as an actor on stage, but that your body of choreographic work so far seems to be mostly on film.
Yeah, that is true. I am still very much a performer, but especially as of late, a lot of my choreographic work has been on film, primarily through a passion project of mine called the Microfiction Project, which is, or was inspired by a short fiction class I took in college, and is an anthology of dance shorts, a series of short films. Each one is its own chapter, and then together they form a whole. I've released 2 of those, chapter 1 and 2, and I'm editing a 3rd. It's a project I really love, and it's taught me a lot about dance for film. And I also am an artistic director of Minute Zero, which is an immersive events company. I co-founded that in 2016 with Maite Natalio and Emily Palmquist, so women-owned theater company. And we met in the immersive space, and we just felt like there was a lot more fun to be had, and so we do immersive site-specific entertainment and curated theatrical experiences, and we're currently incubating a show of our own. So lots of good side projects.
That's so wonderful to hear. And those are 2 amazing women as well. I know both of them, a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit of them tangentially, so very cool that all of you are working together on this.
Speaking of strong, powerful women, you were mentored by director choreographer Maria Torres on this piece. Maria was the associate choreographer of Broadway's On Your Feet. What are 3 words that best describe your experience working with Maria Torres?
So a word that I feel like I used a lot during the process and my experience with Maria, which was amazing, was the word grounded. I felt, this is a story about real people. This is a story about a real family. And Maria Torres is a real person. So over and over again, I just felt like she really helped me ground this story in the experience of this family and in the experience of real life. And it helped me connect to my own connections to it, my own family experience. So definitely it was a grounding experience. It was eye-opening. Every time we met, I feel like I was writing furiously. And really, I just felt so inspired after we would talk, and I really understood the direction this needed to go and how I wanted to frame it. And it was really fun. I think this week I said something to her and the whole creative team. It's actually so rare to get direct feedback on your choreography. We get a lot of indirect feedback via likes or ticket sales, but to have someone have their eyes on the process throughout is really just invaluable and rare, and I feel like the piece really grew as a result. So I'm so grateful to you, so grateful to Maria for her guidance.
That all sounds so great, especially since, you know, I think this moment in Sueños is really about where you come from, the indelible power of home, and also, you know, rediscovering where you come from when you sort of lose sight of that.
Yeah, so meaningful right now when really our abuelos, our grandparents are some of the best of us, and connecting to those histories and that tradition is so, I think, important in this moment. So a gift to be able to do this.
Agree 100%. And so we also want to say, while Maria also wasn't able to be here tonight, she was also, like Josh, kind enough to make a short film for us. So we're going to hear a little bit more about the mentorship process between Kristin and Maria from choreographer Maria Torres. Let's take.
Hi, my name is Maria Torres, and I mentored Kristin Yancy on the development of tonight's Choreography Lab presentation. A few things excite me about working with an emerging choreographer at this moment in time. In the musical theater world, there are not many women, let alone women of color, and the development of authentic Latino musicals are rare. In today's time, where the only option at this time is to create virtually, I was excited about how Kristin Yancy would develop the piece you're about to see. We discussed the story, the challenges of how to incorporate the masks, and the translation of movement onto video. We spoke about how to utilize the authentic movements that honors the culture of the characters and their world. Dance is important to musicals in general, and having the opportunity to work on a new musical is exciting because you get to create the blueprint that shapes the world of that show. The New York Theater Barn Lab program is essential in creating a space for choreographers to mentor and shape the next generation of artists in a safe space with no strings attached. In my case, help usher in our Latino stories and a woman choreographer. Enjoy the premiere of Sueños.
Yay. Okay. Maria is so wonderful. I absolutely loved that video of hers. So I think it is very much time for us to see this first iteration of With Her Heart in My Hand, Hermosa. Remember, this first time you will see the number, it will be shot and shared with you all as though it were occurring on a big, wide proscenium stage.
That's right, and this piece features performances by Fabio Angelo, Edgar Cavazos, Hector Flores Jr., Alyssa V. Gomez, Oriana Hilliard, Marissa Horton, Jordan Fife Hunt, Carlos Jimenez, Lena Owens, and Marie Rose.
Amazing.
She's more than just a girl. She's the color to our world. Gem is what you are, gleaming in the moon and stars. But she was left with me when they chose to leave. I'll put what I have, her heart in my hand. He's still in the same skin, but he's not standing in. I cleaned the mess she made since the day she walked away. Some was left with me when they chose to chase their dreams. I'll do what I can, her heart in my hand.
Kristin, that was so awesome. I loved all those like beautiful, soft moments of storytelling and then how they kind of morphed into the flashier choreography. Just a few questions. So we talked about this briefly before we saw the number, but are there some themes of Sueños that really resonate with you as a choreographer?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Sueños is about young people of color pursuing a career in the arts and pursuing a non-traditional career path, and that's my story too. So that definitely really hits home for me. And also the themes of family. You know, I have a very supportive family, but families are still complicated, and multi-generational families, everybody is different, and I think that's actually a story that everyone can connect with on some level, but it's so strong in Sueños, and that is something that with Maria's guidance I really wanted to pull out and feels important to the piece and just to the moment.
I agree. I think that's so lovely. And so just one other idea. What else do you think, or what other shows rather, I guess, do you feel that Sueños is sort of like in conversation with? Like just as a musical, what else is Sueños kind of comparable to, sort of in your mind?
That is a really interesting question. I'll say that what excites me about Sueños is that it's a Mexican-American story, and this is just the beginning and has so much further to go, but there isn't actually a lot quite like it. That being said, it really has the energy of like some movies. I think more of like, and this might be silly, but I think more of like the Step Up trilogy when I think about like the energy of this.
Nice.
It has like such a young perspective. I mean, musicals maybe like Fame the musical, but it has like some of that energy, just like so many young people in this musical, like pursuing the arts, being really bold about it, doing it when it's scary, and doing it when it hasn't been a career path that they've seen in their own families. So living somewhere in there, I think.
Oh, I love that. I feel like that was very informative, like even for me, somebody who like knows the show a bit and like has been living with it in collaboration with all of you, but yeah, that was super cool. Okay, so our dancers have had a little time to get some water. So now we are going to see Kristin's piece again, but this time, like we did with Tuan's piece, we're going to see it as conceived with a live television broadcast with the roving camera and everything. So let's give it up for round 2 for the dancers of With Her Heart in My Hand, Hermosa. Here we go.
She's more than just a girl. She's the color to our world. A gem is what you are, bleeding in the moon and stars. Look, she was left with me when they chose to leave. I'll do what I can, her heart in my hand. Still in the same skin, but he's not standing in. I cleaned the mess she made since the day she walked away. Something was left with me when they chose to chase their dreams. I'll do what I can, your heart in my hand.
I don't know about this dance stuff.
Oh, now that you mentioned it, whatever happened to cumbia, merengue y salsa?
She might be
for Our Hermana and the original Lupe from Sueños, Doreen Montalvo Mann.
Wow, that was so spectacular, and it was a truly lovely tribute to Doreen.
Yes, and for those of you who didn't know Doreen Montalvo Mann, she was a cherished member of the theater community who illuminated the original Broadway companies of In the Heights, On Your Feet, and recently Mrs. Doubtfire. You actually heard her voice in today's lab presentation of Sueños, and she will be greatly missed. Up next, we look forward to chatting with both choreographers about this developmental process and their experiences. Hello again, Kristin and Tuan.
Amazing, yeah, come on back in. Here, I'll bring, yay, yeah, sure, some applause, yes, okay. Amazing, yes, we decided to go for like a different look. Yeah, we put you in like the tall chair. It's great, I love it. Okay, so first things first, were there any unexpected challenges in essentially making these pieces twice in two different ways? Anything easier? And I just will kind of go to you whenever, whoever wants to answer first.
Sure, yeah, I was actually a lot more daunted by that task before we got in the studio. But once we started working, we're telling the same story, and you know, it became a lot more fun to think about what we wanted to highlight and how we could use the camera to help tell the story. And I really think it comes alive more in this format on the camera version. So it became really fun. Collaborating with Kyle was so amazing. But yeah, in the beginning, it felt daunting, but it actually, in fact, help clarify things, I think.
Cool. How about you, Tuan?
First of all, same thing. Also, I've known Kristin Yancy for years.
We're friends.
We're friends. LOL. Anyway, I completely agree. You're telling the same story. But I will say for me, actually, a lot of my choreography before this was self-produced, and it actually was on film. So I'm actually not used to proscenium style. So that was oddly a challenge for me of some things of like, oh, like on film we could zoom in here, but then I watch it as a whole and I'm like, oh, that doesn't read at all if you're watching it from afar. So there were definitely some adjustments that I was making, ironically, mostly for proscenium. Film I was more comfortable with.
Sure. I mean, hey, it all comes down to like where people's backgrounds are. Like I know for me, I feel like so much more of my work has been on stage, and then when I do camera stuff, I'm like, I got this other thing I got to deal with. So you kind of alluded to this collaboration that you had with Kyle of Full Out Creative. I'd love to hear just a little bit about how you kind of figured out his cinematography, his track. For those of you who don't know in the audience, obviously he was roving around all over the place, figuring out all of those shots and making that all really specific. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
First of all, obviously Kyle's amazing. In terms of our collaboration, I'm very much of the mindset of I want everyone to have the space to do their own creative thing, and I'll kind of edit and facilitate as necessary rather than like dictating, I want this shot, then I want this shot, I want this shot. So I basically trusted Kyle, who has obviously an amazing eye and skill set. And then we kind of collaborated on like, oh, does this work? And I'm like, oh yes, or can we try this the next time? So it was very much back and forth, rather than going into it of like, oh, like I have all the shots lined out on a piece of paper of like, this is what I'm thinking. I pretty much just come in free form, and then everyone helps fill in the blanks.
Fill from there.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And for you? How was it?
It was so great. I mean, Kyle also watched so many rehearsals. He knew the pieces so well by the time we started having the conversation, which was amazing. And also, you know, again, it's back to telling stories. So it was really fun to have conversations with Kyle that were like, whose perspective are we thinking about right now? Whose eyes do we want to see this through? And that really helped shape a lot of what we built. But there's, especially in the beginning, there's so many fun vignettes This piece in the script is actually split up by scenes.
Right,
So we
yes.
tried to tackle a lot of that scene work in the first half of the piece, and it just is really well suited. Those vignettes were really well suited to film and to being on camera. So it was so fun, and you know, it really felt like good creative space for both of us, and it was nice also to sort of highlight the entire ensemble.
Interesting, interesting. So I guess I'm just kind of curious, were there specific moments of storytelling that you felt were more effective for you in one version or the other?
I'll start.
Yeah, sure.
I definitely felt for me, going off of my answer previously, that the film version for mine was a little more successful in terms of getting the story across and highlighting things that needed to be highlighted. I think part of it was due to the mask wearing, that getting closer to someone's face, you can see a lot through someone's eyes. Proscenium style, once again, choreography-wise, I felt like the proscenium style this time around, and obviously this is a lab, so there's more time to play, but I definitely felt like the proscenium style exposed a little more of my flaws in the choreography than the film version.
Sure. No, I mean, that's interesting because, I mean, obviously when you have a film version, you can kind of zoom in and out and have this moment where you're only seeing certain aspects of things as opposed to having the whole wide shot. And for you, Kristin?
Yeah, I think I feel similarly. I'd be curious to talk to people who watch too, because this is proscenium style, but then on a screen.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's two layers there, and you know, that's why live theater is so special, is being in the room. Like, we got a live performance tonight, but you know, I have a feeling, my instinct is that the second version really brings the whole thing to life, because the way that we have access to theater right now is on a screen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then I just have one final question for you, which we've kind of tiptoed around a little bit as we've been talking, sort of like, oh, well, we do have the masks and access to theater right now. Obviously, you know, the elephant in the room through all of this is that we're doing this with the masks and the way that we are doing it. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience. And actually, I'll start with Kristin, because I've started over here a few times now, just about your experience, just artistically, emotionally, making this during this time.
Yeah, I mean, like, what a gift to be in a studio and making dance right now. It's like the thing my heart really needed. But yeah, coronavirus has made, like it has for everyone in every industry, has made this really challenging in ways. It's very difficult to dance in a mask. It's hard to breathe, you know, and again, you know, it's more difficult to project and to emote when you only have the top of your face, and the eyes might be the window to the soul, but we're pretty far away from the lens. So yeah, there were definitely some challenges, but I'm so grateful for the experience. They were worth it. The people that I got to work with are so amazing. I'm in love with this cast, and they really rose to the challenge, and frequent testing, and we hand sanitize before we partner, and you know, so many new things added to the process, but we also know how special it is to get to make art right now, and so thank you, and definitely worth it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Here, I'd love to just hear a little bit from you as well.
Ding, ding, ding. That's exactly,
yeah, you're like,
what
it's the
say.
same.
Basically, bravo, brava, bravi to everyone here for making this happen safely, and also just inspiring everyone to make art during this time. But quickly jumping back to your question. Yeah, I think what is happening here, which is so successful, is not ignoring what is happening, right? Either in the country or with COVID. Like, wearing masks and being unapologetic of like, we're doing this piece and we're wearing masks, and this will be time-stamped forever in this time. In a great way, though, of like, this happened and we learned from it, and we can always learn from things. So being able to do things head-on and address things head-on, like we have all done here tonight and the past couple weeks, bravo.
Yeah, and I think you just hit the nail on the head, right? Like saying, okay, this is the moment in time we're living in, but we're all going to continue to try to keep learning and growing as artists and doing things during this time, like acknowledging that it's different, but
and,
yeah.
Sorry, and if you don't feel like doing anything, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Okay, so thank you both so much for your time, for your talent, for your energy. You guys are so wonderful, and I'm so thrilled that you were able to join me both in making the dance and here for this conversation. Amazing. Thank you
both
so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and we would, you know, hug you, but no.
Thank you, but you can lead that. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Well, it's amazing that even during this pandemic year, we can still create new work that will have a direct impact on the future of musical theater choreography. Once again, I'm thankful to BDC and Full Out Creative for providing us with this collaboration and opportunity. I also want to thank the writers, Jesse Sanchez, Jeff Chambers, Ben Kaplan, and also all the family members of I Don't Want to Talk About It in Sueños who have been part of that development. I'd especially like to acknowledge Sueños family members who are watching, Sandra Morante, Jason Hurtado, and Amanda Robles.
Very nice. I love that. And I am so grateful too that we've somehow still been able to present 3 choreography labs this year, even though they looked drastically different than I thought they would at the start of 2020. I'm just really grateful that we've been able to do this and we've been able to pivot this program so successfully during this time.
That's right. It's been a lot of work, as Jen knows too, but it certainly has been rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. So the lab will return for our 8th season sometime in the spring of 2021.
And we'll be telling you more about our plans for season 8 as they develop, but I can only imagine that cinematography is in our future.
Yes, it does seem that way. Okay, so that's our event for this evening.
Join us again this coming Wednesday, October 28th for the 28th installment of our virtual Newark series featuring the new musicals, The Clear Waters and Little Duende. The Clear Waters is written by Russ Kaplan, Daniel John Kelly, and Sarah Wordsworth. Russ and Sarah are 2 of the writers of In Transit, and we're excited to have them part of the NYTV family again.
I loved In Transit. You know, we have been a part of raising up so many new musicals and just a part of the development of so many stories, so many writers,
right.
So many shows.
That's absolutely right. Little Duende is written by Robbie Hager and Georgina Escobar. Robbie's also a performer, and we're excited to have him be a part of, we were excited to have him as a part of Zoe Sarnik's presentation of A Crossing this past summer in our Newark series, and look forward to welcoming him this week as a writer. And if you liked the work that you saw tonight, please consider making a donation to New York Theater Barn, nytheaterbarn.org/give.
Thank you for tuning in tonight, and thank you for supporting live theater. Good night from all of us here at BDC. Thank you. Yay, good night.
Yay.